Hi folks, today's video is about Friendica, which is another video in my series about alternative social networks. And as always, I'll put chapter links for the video as well as other reference links below in the description of this video. I'm publishing my videos at the moment to YouTube, Odyssey and PeerTube. But let me just qualify something first about Friendica and Hubzilla, which I initially had wrong myself, and that is why I really had been putting off or not intending to do a video about Friendica at all. Although they both have the same creator who left the Friendica project and went on to create Hubzilla afterwards, Friendica is not an older abandoned social network at all. It is regularly updated and has a slightly different focus to Hubzilla, and I'll dig a little deeper into this comparison a bit later on in the video. I'll also put a link below this video to my video about Hubzilla. So what is Friendica? It is a fully open source decentralized communications platform that integrates social communication by linking to other independent social projects and corporate services. This means it is a decentralized architecture with no central authority or ownership. You can host an instance yourself for family or friends, or you could make use of one of the many already publicly available hosted instances. And for that, you can actually go and see an area on their website called Find a Server. Unlike many decentralized social media, which just replicates posts, Friendica also addresses the security and the privacy aspects of posting across different instances and actually in granular detail. Their mission is to free friends, family, and colleagues from data harvesting corporations. They aim for social communication to be free and open, while flowing between any provider as easily as email does today. Friendica itself is based on the DFRN protocol, DFRN, which stands for Distributed Friends and Relations Network Protocol, and was released into the public domain by Mike McGovern, Friendica's creator, on 22nd September 2010. It offers a more Facebook-like experience without requiring a central company or server. In other words, it's more than just about sharing blog posts. And so it is not like a micro-blogging platform like Twitter or Mastodon. Friendica connects you effortlessly to a federated communications network of several thousand servers with more than 500,000 user registrations. You can directly connect to anyone on networks such as Friendica, Mastodon, Diaspora, GNU Social, StatusNet, Pleroma, or Hubzilla, regardless of where each profile is hosted. So it is part of the massive fediverse of social networks. With Friendica, you can also fully interact with anyone on Twitter and receive any content from Tumblr, WordPress, or RSS feeds. Friendica allows you to also integrate most things on the web via a range of add-ons such as IFTTT and Buffer2. You can also import arbitrary websites and blogs into your social stream via RSS or Atom feeds. Now this is what I'm actually doing with my own posts. I'm importing posts from my RSS feed on my website, and these are automatically creating Friendica posts on my stream. So I'm not posting manually on Friendica, I'm actually I'm using my RSS feed and I'm importing my posts that way. And I'll show you that when I go tour the user interface and we have a look at where the contacts are and what you can do with them. So let's just look at some of the functionality that Friendica actually covers. This is what the interface looks like if you open a Friendica site, a profile. This is a profile view at the moment. But if we click there on the top right and we have a look here, these are some of the functions that you can actually do with Friendica. So things like status posts that can have mentions, likes, and dislikes, and have got thread style comments as responses and replies. The post can be of unlimited text length, but many sites will allow up to about 200,000 characters per post. Posts also allow for rich text formatting and paragraph formatting to make it more easy to read. Then the other feature we've got there is profiles, and in fact you can have multiple profiles. So you can show one profile to your friends, you can have a different profile that's visible to family members, and you can have yet another different profile which is available, say, to work colleagues. to keep your personas sort of separate and different for the different groups that you interact with. Then we've also got things like photos, videos, obviously depending on what's been activated by the instance owner. In my case, I don't think videos is active, but photos certainly is. I should also sort of say this is one of the sites that I'm not hosting myself. I am using squeak.me. I think it's hosted in Germany. So this is a user view that you're seeing just like any other user would see. And then the other interesting part you've got here is event calendar with organizing with things like reactions such as accept, decline, or unsure for attendance. And also birthday calendars with time zone corrections depending on, obviously which part of the world your friends are in. And then it's also got personal notes. But I would say that most certainly things like the photo albums, the event management, and also obviously being able to post not only to statuses for your profile, but to be able to post to things like groups makes it very, very similar to what a lot of people say are using Facebook for. Maybe not Facebook Marketplace per se, but I think certainly from the blogging and social networking aspects, you've got a very, very good alternative to something like Facebook. Then the other thing you can also do is you can follow other people's profiles or even hashtags. So if we're going to have a look, say here at search, you can find and follow whether it's a hashtag, text in a content, a name, or a forum. So I could, for example, search for, say, a hashtag like South Africa. You'll see at the moment I've got a couple of saved searches, but I haven't saved the search hashtag South Africa. So it's showing me at the moment items tagged with South Africa, but I could also just click over there and say, let's follow this hashtag now. What now I'll start doing is when I look at my feeds, I'm going to start seeing all of these things included along with the people that I'm following, minus of course no adverts and no algorithmic manipulation or anything. So I'm getting a clean feed. At the moment, this is just listing obviously the South Africa hashtag. You'll see there. And it also does have a directory here that you can find other users and friends and so on. This is obviously now on this particular site that I'm on, but you could go to the global directory. You could look for similar interests, friend suggestions over here, random profiles, and so on. Remember, an important part of a social network often is finding other people based on things like interests and hobbies or groups that you want to follow. So, having a good site directory is actually very important for a social network to get that cohesion and interest for people to stay there. You can also restrict friendships based on protocol, email addresses, or DNS location, and you can completely block or quietly ignore contacts. So you've got a lot of management over what you see in your feed and what you're not going to see in your feed. And that's often a problem in some networks where you can't exclude things that offend you or what you don't want to see. In that case, again, Friendica's got pretty granular control actually. You could click on anybody here just to follow them, and it's as easy as that really. If I go to existing contacts that I've already got, again, you can send a personal message, you can look at their network posts, you can view the contact, or you can connect and follow. I'm not following this person at the moment. I should actually find somebody that's not a fan. Okay, yes, somebody that I'm following, but it's actually on Twitter. You'll see also, though, out of your contacts, you can filter on the other side over here, and you can also place them into custom groups. So if I was just to click on friends, I will just see a view of my friends that I'm actually following, or my family, or my close friends, or whatever the case is over here. So a lot of control over it, and you can also filter on whether it's a personal profile, an organization, news, or actually a forum. And this is where you can filter on the protocols I mentioned just now. So if you wanted to say, no, I'm on all protocols at the moment, I just want to see everybody that I'm connected to on ActivityPub. And remember, ActivityPub is things like what Mastodon is using in various of the fediverse sites. You'll see there's Mastodon API underneath. Now it's just filtering on the Mastodon protocols. Defern, as I said, there was Friendica, there's Diaspora. Now I'm only going to see Diaspora contacts. If I've got any RSS or Atom feed contacts, Twitter contacts, and Zot being Hubzilla contacts. So that's where you'll be able to filter on them. And then while on the topic of forums, public or private forums, I just want to show you also where you'd go and create such forums. It's one thing to follow them, but what if you want to create, say, a community group for, say, a church, a scout troop, or a hobby like knitting, for example, or something like that? You can just go up to the drop-down menu over there. You go to Settings, and you go to Manage Accounts. And this is where you can actually set additional accounts. So remember, an account, though, can be a personal profile, but it can also be public groups. So you can create public or private groups, but this page over here is where you'd also go to create your additional profiles or those community groups, as I said. You can designate delegates here to manage those public groups as well. This over here where it says parent user, I first thought this is for young children's accounts, but no, it's not actually. This is actually a parent account which can have children or sub-accounts. That's essentially what it actually is. So if you could create a second profile or a third profile, you can have this account as your main or your parent user account, and the others will be children of. So obviously you realize you could have cascading things here really. But effectively, if you've got children accounts or child accounts over here, you'll be able to switch then between these various accounts. So again, remember what I said earlier, you could have a work account or profile, you could have a private account or profile, and you could have your one account managing, say, a community forum or a community group as well. And this is really all where you do it. And you'll see there's an option for register an additional account. So you just choose a nickname there for the profile or for the forum, and you could say there where you want it to include in the member directory or not. And at the next step where you create it, it's going to ask you what type of account do you want to create. And you can designate your account then as a personal page profile, an organization page, a news page, or a community forum. And you'll really take it from there. Let's just talk a little bit though also about the comparison between Friendica and Hubzilla, because this is quite important to understand. So both of them, the projects are actively maintained and updated. And if you look at their source code repositories, you'll see that literally within the last couple of days to a week, both have been updated. There's nothing that's outdated between the two of them. Mike McGurven is an American software engineer that's now living in Australia, and he used to once work at Facebook. He's actually the original author of both of them. He created Friendica from July 2010, and it was originally known as Mistpark. And after that, from around 2012 or so, he left that project and he actually created Hubzilla, which was originally known as Red Matrix. Hubzilla was a complete rewrite from the ground up. He was looking at whether he was going to migrate and keep updating Friendica, but he had such radical changes and things that he wanted to do. It only really warranted a complete rewrite, and hence why it's a separate project. And Hubzilla's got a protocol of its own, which he also developed, called ZOT, Z-O-T, or Z-O-T, I suppose the Americans say, which also allows for nomadic and cloned identities. Now, these are ways to mirror and move your entire channel of posts with comments to a different server, or to mirror it as a backup really in a different server. And my video around Hubzilla goes a little bit more into that, explaining what it actually is. And that's a very unique concept actually as far as social networks go. So quite an interesting concept to look at. But Hubzilla is also more than just social networking, as it goes also into things like cloud services, content management, like web pages and groupware as well. So it allows you to build your company web pages and even run customer support from the same platform. Hubzilla also has decentralized access control, which means you can publish web pages, videos, photos, create chat rooms, and so on. And all of your web properties can have privacy settings that work seamlessly with anybody on Hubzilla. but they don't even need to have an account on your site. So, that's how granular, and he'd made sort of provision for all those sort of cascading privacy controls, which is quite unique as well. Again, something that doesn't appear in things like ActivityPub and some of the other protocols. Hubzilla does a lot more, especially around decentralized publishing with granular rights management. But this comes with additional complexity, whilst Friendica's focus really is decentralized social networking with a finer management of who you socialize with and connections to many other social networks. So it focuses more specifically on the social networking side. So if you had to host between these two, do you want a kitchen sink that does a whole lot of stuff and everything else? Or would you like to maybe just focus on specifically social networking and interacting with other networks? Then you're going to go maybe for Friendica. An interesting takeaway here is that both Friendica and Hubzilla are actually far advanced of the ActivityPub protocol that Mastodon and many of the others use. But ActivityPub became more popular. So Friendica and Hubzilla both integrate with the ActivityPub protocol, but some advanced functionality will be lost with that integration, as it's just not supported in the ActivityPub protocol. Remember, Mastodon, for example, it only supports ActivityPub, so it can only read and write what it reads in the ActivityPub protocol. It doesn't read Zot and the other protocols. At the end of the day, though, the free and decentralized social networking sites are a massive family, and therefore it's important to connect still to as many as possible, even if event management, voting, and some of the other functionality cannot be exchanged with them. Let's just also talk about mobile app clients, because it's a question I get quite a lot from people. What apps are available? Can I run a native app on Android or iOS or whatever? So let's just get one thing out of the way here. First of all, there isn't an iOS client that I've been able to find anyway. There is for the various other platforms. I think we're fairly well covered. But Friendica is chiefly accessed via a web browser, and it is mobile friendly. So it's perfectly usable on a mobile web browser. And I'm going to show you just a quick clip of what that looks like on my iPhone, just to give you the look and feel of it, and you'll see how it's adapted to the screen. I'll put a link also below the video to my other video about how to set up this type of functionality so that it works just like it looks like a native mobile app with everything except for push notifications. But apart from push notifications, everything works like it's a native app. So let's just have a quick look at this. Okay, so I hope that gave you the confidence that it does look and work fairly well anyway on the mobile browser. It doesn't necessarily need a native app, but you can see from the web page here, they do have a couple of app options for Android, as well as Selfish OS, Windows, and Linux itself as well. And then there's also some GNU social clients that will connect and work with Friendica as well as GNU social. And then also some Mastodon clients that will connect not only to Mastodon, but will also connect to Friendica accounts and operate perfectly well as well. So let's get on to having a look at the user interface then. The top left icon over here is filtering on everybody that I specifically follow as contacts, as well as the hashtags that I'm following. So this is what I will see. And I won't be seeing adverts, and I won't be seeing, unless I'm following, for example, an organization or a business page or something, I'm not otherwise going to see adverts, anything pushed into my feed, or any algorithmic changes to the feed. You'll see I can sort here on things like latest chronological activity, latest posts, activity obviously meaning any comments or replies or anything that's been made on a post. Post is just the date of the post itself, and then my personal posts and things like that I've starred. I can filter here anyway on just looking at persons or just organizations, news or forums. I can also filter by groups that I've set up. So I've got a couple of groups already where I've put fellow South Africans, old schoolmates, ham radio operators, green technology, ex-Google Plus users, etc., etc. If I click on these, it'll filter on just those people as well. I'm not going to filter on them now, though. I've got a couple of forums that I'm busy following as well, so I could click on them to have a look at those forums. There's archives of old posts. This is where I'd filter again on by protocol if I wanted to, just to have a look at, ActivityPub people. There is my saved searches, and you'll see there's the South African hashtag that we added already. That's really the view down the left, and then you're obviously just going to get the stream of posts. What's interesting here is, look, you'll see over there is Twitter, for example. So this already includes, I've connected it to my Twitter account. So in essence, I'm getting a cleaner view than if I was looking at Twitter itself. I'm seeing all the contacts, just the contacts that I'm following, minus adverts, minus algorithms, and that sort of thing. And if I respond here, if I like, you can see I can't dislike this because it's a Twitter post. But I can like, I can comment, I can reshare it, and that will happen on Twitter. So it'll be operating on my account, which means that the Twitter users are not even going to know really I'm working from Friendica, but it gives me a better view and something better to interact with than using Twitter, which is really, really, really very noisy. So I'll see if I can find, well, we can actually just quickly check here on ActivityPub. These will be ActivityPub, so probably Mastodon usually users, I think. Well, Mastodon API, and there's a little logo indicating it's a Mastodon post. And you can see it appears with the tags. Now you do have likes and dislikes, I see. And if I go to Defern over there, you should see Friendica posts. Okay, these are my own posts, obviously, that I've made. I'll just see if there's somebody else's post here. Obviously, I post a lot. What I can just show here, that okay, you can actually see people have liked it. 2 people have reshared my post. You can like, dislike. You can filter on any of the tags that I'm using there. Quote share, or just plain do a reshare. I can, of course, edit my post. I can add additional tags. I can save it to a folder. I can pin the post to the top of my feed. I can add a star, and I can also delete it globally. You'll see here on commenting, you can also insert an image, add an attachment, put links in, underline. So there's some formatting and so on that you can do as well over there. So that is actually the view of people, just the people you're following and the hashtags. This should be just my posts and conversations that have been had. So you're obviously only going to see myself over there. Notice also you can also filter on categories as well. So also very handy for doing a further filter on a person's posts, and things like a tag cloud as well to show you, what hashtags they've used the most in their posting. You can turn this sort of thing on and off as well though, but it just makes it nice for users. I think that if you're interested in say for example ham radio, and if you click on there, you're going to basically be filtered on all the ham radio posts that I've done, and you can cut everything else out. There you go. Even though these are 2 years ago, 3 years ago posts, look how quickly you can find them. Then conversations. This is the global view of posts that are happening. These are not people that I'm following. It's just people that are posting on the same instance, Friendica instance that I'm using at the moment. Again, you can do the filtering here, and it's showing you some of the trending tags as well in the last 24 hours. Then you've got messages. You've got the calendar view. So you can create calendar appointments here, obviously for yourself, which will be private. And then also Publica. So there was a private one I did to say I was going to be doing the video. I'm a little bit behind schedule at the moment. You can export it as an iCal or as a comma separated value file. If you want to add a new appointment, you just click over there. You can make it a basic appointment with a title, time zone. You can also choose time zone for event start or end or unknown end. Do you want to share this event? And you can make it either public, or if it's private, you can also share it to particular groups. So I could share it just with my family group or just with work colleagues, and only they will see this as well. Or you can have it a tag or 2 or 3 except for as well. And obviously you can preview over there. If you look at an appointment, you've got the option also then to delete it or quickly duplicate it as well, which is quite handy if you're setting up repeat appointments. Let's see what else we've got. We've covered contacts already, really. But you can also, there are some sub views over here at the top, things like pending, blocked, ignored, archived, hidden, and groups. Notifications, obviously, and you can mark it as seen. I don't know if I think they bold or unbolded if you've seen them already. So this is my status view at the moment. This is where my posts appear. You can click on profile, and this is where you're going to also edit your profile to change, various details over here. These are obviously tags by which people can find you, other information, forums you belong to. You can also view your profile as somebody else. If you want to see how a particular friend sees, remember you can turn things on and off on your profile here as well. You can use this view to see what other people are going to see. The photos I mentioned a little bit earlier. So what is nice about this is it's not just photos. You've also got albums. Without being able to organize photos in albums, it becomes a little bit pointless, if you want to share it. So, you could also I had created an album, for example, tech and gadgets. And you can decide also the visibility of this album. You can see there the title or the caption of the photo. And if you click on, say, this one, you'll see people can also make comments underneath as well about the photo and interact with it. And they can like and dislike it as well. I can edit it by some basic rotations as well, adding tags, the caption. I can change the album name as well. And obviously you can delete the photo. And you can also set it as profile photo. I think media was just actually the various attachments or other files I think that you've uploaded. Events we've sort of covered already. Personal notes, you can just keep various notes, and you can format these notes as well and add images and that sort of thing. You can also schedule posts, and I've covered the contact side already. So if I go back to status, if you want to look at how we're going to create a new post now, you can set a title for your post. You can here put in your categories, a comma separated, and obviously there you type in your text for the post, and you've got all the formatting options over here. You can attach files, insert links, set a location if you want to, and then here again are the permissions. So for every post, you can share it, as I said before, just that a particular group of people sees it. If you've created your groups, you can schedule it. That was what the schedule view was for as well, and obviously which time zone when you want it to go out. And you've also got some optional connectors I'll show now in the settings, but you can post it to an email, or you can post it directly to Twitter or to WordPress if you've linked it as well. And that'll basically mean that as you click post, or it actually publishes it, it will also send it to Twitter or WordPress site or whatever the case is. The browser view is just to attach photos that already been uploaded to the site. Just a quick post-edit insertion. I realized I forgot to explain how you add a RSS contact and then get it to mirror that RSS feed as your own posts. So if you go to your contacts on Friendica, The first way is you need to add the contact itself. So you go to add a new contact, you'll paste in there the RSS feed URL, say connect, and it adds it really as a normal contact. You'll now just click on there to say follow. You'll see it says there already it's a RSS atom type contact. You'll just say follow and submit the request or submit the request. But let me just go back and show you that I've already set one up. So if I just filter on RSS atom there, you'll see there's my contact already created. It shows the RSS feed URL. If you go to view contact there, confirming again it's a RSS type with the address. It's this setting over here, mirror postings from this contact. So in other words, mirror from that RSS and create it, repost that content as my posts. So you could hide the contact from others if you wanted to. I just made a note there to remember what it's about. Or you can also mirror it as forwarded posting. It'll appear as forwarded from, whatever you've named the contact. But the fact that I've said mirrored as my own posting is it appears as me posting in Friendica. And that's basically it. Once you've set that up and said submit, whatever it pulls from the RSS feed, it will then be posting as your own content on your Friendica profile. So back to the video then. So that's really about that. So the last thing really just to go through then really is to have a look at the settings actually. So these are the main categories of menu settings that you've got. Obviously you've got a password change. It also confirms your identity address for Friendica as well as a web address. If you go to that web address, you'll basically end up at my profile, which you can then follow. But it just confirms it there for you. There's obviously password change, your basic information, which I'm not going to open right now. And then things like your security and privacy. So you've got quite a lot of granular control here already. Whether you want to publish in the site directory, whether you want to be searchable globally, whether you want to hide contact or friend list, hide profile details, make public posts unlisted, make all posted pictures unlisted. Now this is an interesting one, of course. Now you'll realize, of course, if you're a Facebook user, you can allow people to post on your wall. Now that's not normally a concept that is seen in other decentralized social media, for example, Mastodon or others. You're only posting from your own profile, that's it. But on Facebook, I remember you could also allow people to post on your wall. So here you could actually tick it on and say, allow friends to post on my wall. Obviously people that you have friended. Allow friends to tag my post, and that'll be things like tagging photos maybe, or whatever the case is with your profile. And also whether to allow unknown people to send me private messages. Again, you can have that on or off. Then you can also set certain maximums. This just keeps volumes down as well. And you can also set a default privacy group for new contacts. You could have, say, other, or whatever the case is. I don't have an other group, but that's where you'd set it. You can also set your default post permissions. You can have expiration settings as well for your posts to expire. On the notification side, you can decide what notifications you want. So really great, you can turn off a lot of these things that keep hammering you for every time this happens or that happens, somebody liked your content. So I get a lot of likes. I don't want to see every time somebody's liked a post necessarily. So you can turn these things on and off. You can also activate desktop notifications. On the account types, I did cover this this is a nice summary, of course, of the different types of account types. Now, remember, this is an existing account I've already got, so I can change this away from being a personal page to an organizational page, a news page, or a community forum. And you'll see I mentioned some subtypes. So for personal pages, you can also mark it as a standard personal page, a soapbox type account, or a love all type account. It really is just determining here what happens with approval for follows. Is it manual or is it automatic? I think let's have a look quickly and see Oh, there's no subtype for... There is subtypes for a community forum. So if I was creating a community forum, would it be a public forum, which automatically approves all contacts, or is it a private forum where I must approve the contacts? So that's also where you can change for existing. You can import contacts as well from a file. And if you had a recent relocation, then it would show up over there. Then two-factor authentication, it is configured. I've got the setup with Authy, but you could use Google Authenticator or that type of two-factor authentication app. And you've also got a couple of recovery codes that if you've lost access to your authentication app, you have actually got manual recovery codes, which I've already saved and I can use to recover my account if I need to. Then, okay, profile, for some reason I see it's not working on this. I'm not sure why, but where I showed profile earlier in edit, you can certainly do your editing there. I'm not sure what's exactly wrong there. Then additional features is things like normally photo location by default is remove the metadata, which is not the norm for a lot of other social networks, but in this case it is. You can override that and decide, no, I do want to have the locations in. There is the trending tags, so I can have it on or off, show a community page widget with a list of the most popular tags in the recent public posts. Post composition, a couple of options there. Post comments, add categories to my posts. And then the advanced profiles. This is where I said you could actually activate things like tag cloud or listing of the forums there and displaying my membership date when I joined Friendica. Display settings. So this is obviously going to depend on what the instance owner has installed. I know there are a couple of themes for Friendica, but there are only these two that are available on the SweetMe instance at the moment. So I could pick one of these two. Obviously, if you know CSS and other stuff, you can even modify and add custom themes yourself if you're the instance owner, obviously. But what you can do is you can make a couple of other changes to the theme that you've already chosen. So you can override a couple of settings over here. And yeah, you've got a couple of others. Oh, don't ask me what that is. Copy or paste scheme string. Not sure what that is for, but some of the other basic stuff like the navigation bar, background color, I've actually tweaked some of this myself already. You can change the opacity of the background, and you can choose an image for the background yourself as well. Content layout, this is just the number of posts you're going to see on a page and so on as well. Infinite scroll you can turn on and off as well. Stay local. And then calendar settings, it's really just the Monday or Sunday start of the week. This is where you set up the integration with other social networks, again depending on what your instance hoster or owner is actually activated. But some of the general settings, enable content warnings, intelligent shortening, that's where you see that more below very, very long posts, so you don't see the full post when you're scrolling. Text shortening, attaching the link title. And these are some of the settings for integration with IFTT, Tumblr, Twitter. So what's interesting with Twitter, of course, is you can also set it up to import Twitter. So this would mean if you've got a Twitter account and you're posting on Twitter, you could have those posts mirror here on Friendica itself without having to retype them on Friendica, and vice versa. So what's nice is if Friendica is your main place that you're interfacing and doing all your Twitter work on, whatever you post on Friendica, you can also set up that it mirrors to Twitter, and it'll mirror on your Twitter account over there. WordPress export, and there's the email mailbox settings if you say email posts. Add-ons, again, this will also depend on what's installed by your instance owner. The advanced content filter I haven't set up, but you can set rules and so on for that. These are just certain blocks and things you can set. Content, cat avatar settings. As I said, it just depends what I've set mine up to filter on English and Afrikaans. Markdown, if you can enable. There's some control and stuff that you can set up for NSFW filters. There's some of this stuff that you can set up as well to be more explicit in the settings there. This is where you can activate that show more or not, and where you want it to cut off and say show more. There's a dynamic version of it as well, and you can also specify a start page if you wanted to. And then remember, we did have a look at this already for the managing of additional accounts and where you create for group forums and so on. Connected apps I don't have at the moment, but I think this is where, for example, if you had an Android app or whatever the case is, it would appear here when it's got permission and it's accessing your account remotely. This is obviously where you would disable them as well if you saw something odd. You can export your personal data. And of course, you can also fully remove your account as well. And you don't have to wait for Facebook or WhatsApp to never delete it. This really does happen. So that really is just about it that I really wanted to show. I can maybe just show the forum directory. This is for those, what I call earlier, the public or the private forums and so on. So you'd really want to go and have a look probably then at the global directory really, so that you could see and search across all the Friendica instances. You'll see here they are categorizing 6,079 people, 265 organizations, there's 166 public forums and 119 news pages. Again, you can filter on the right here by language, popular countries, popular tags as well. Typically, yes, Linux, I suppose, features well. In fact, we can go and search. We can search on Linux. And now for Linux, what it's brought back is 248 people have got Linux tagged or mentioned in their profiles. So there may be people that you want to follow. And you can just click there then to follow them. Or there are 7 organizations, which will be things like Arch Linux and Ubuntu and a couple of others, unofficial. Or forums, so these will be public forums, and again you can just click to follow the forum, and then you can post in there and read whatever you want to. And there's also news pages relating to Linux as well. So that's really how you're going to find things of common interest. One thing I can probably also just show quickly is the public servers. This is how, because the first step you're going to have is if you're not really going to be hosting your own Friendica instance, then the other thing you'll want to be looking at is how do I find a server that I can join. So there's the address up the top there, and I went to public servers. There's 196 public servers at the moment, and out of them here you can filter by language. So if you are speaking Spanish or French or German, you can filter over there already as the main language. They are sorted, as I recall, by health score. In other words, how available that particular instance is. And there's a couple of other tags, like how many users are on the instance, if it's a stable version, and that sort of thing. And you can obviously visit the server then to go and join. So if you go down, you can get an idea there already. Obviously HTTPS is what you want as well. It mustn't be HTTP. There's quite a few here. And just as a matter of interest, if you go to the next page, at the top, SqueakMe is the one that I'm actually on. I see it's got a 90 health score. I don't really remember it being offline, to be honest. The main language is German, but I'm in English, and everybody else I'm interacting with. Remember, it doesn't really matter. It's only your home base, your home instance, really, where you're joining. You're following people from anywhere across the fediverse or Twitter or anywhere else. So don't worry too much about that. It's really just the home feed that may show a lot of German posts. They've got 1,272 active users. It's open for registrations, and it is a development version, so you do get quite a lot of the latest features and so on it. So I've been pretty happy there. I did a comparison, originally when I joined Friendica, I looked at all the various instances, and I spent quite a lot of time going through these things to have a look at, where did I want to sign up. I was with somebody else and there were some issues, some restrictions on things I couldn't do. So in the end, I actually ended up at SweetMe. So I think my issue was I wanted to mirror my RSS feeds. I think that was the issue I had on one of the other servers. It wasn't active. They do have it active, and that's why I'm sitting there and using their one at the moment. But really try anyone. Like I said, it doesn't really matter. Remember, it's not a central server. You're just connecting, you're just having a home account on one particular server you're joining. And if you're not happy, you can actually export your channel or your account and you can import it elsewhere again. So you are not locked in. This is not a Facebook. It's not a Twitter. And that's the whole mindset, I suppose we've got to change when we start looking at things like Friendica and the various decentralized social media. It's a different mindset. It's not about where you actually sign up. But anyway, no, that's really about it. I hope you found it interesting and that you know a little bit more about Friendica and that maybe it's worth considering as an option if you're interested in getting even into the fediverse. You don't have to sign up for Mastodon. If you want to interact with Mastodon people and users, you can do it from Friendica. And I already suggest if you're a Twitter user, you might well find that Friendica is a more friendly place to actually do your Twitter work from as well. So, think about it that way. And I hope you found Friendica interesting. I'm not sure if I've got another one in my series of alternative social media. I'll have to go through all my accounts again and just see if I've left anything out that I still wanted to cover specifically. But if not, I will be going on to Lime Survey and a couple of other interesting open source products I'll be doing videos on as well in the future. So yeah, stay safe out there and I will see you in my next video. Thank you very much.